Hi, I'm Namashibata from Japan. First of all, thank you very much for inviting JOLT members, including myself, for the 29th Mental International Conference. In my presentation, I would like to talk about the effectiveness of theme-based instruction on Japanese university student global awareness. And here's the outline. First of all, I would like to talk about literature review, and then research questions, and talk about method and present result, and try to consider discussion based on the previous studies, and conclusion. Now, let me talk about literature review. So, what is global awareness? According to Hanway, global awareness has these 5 components: perspective, consciousness, state of the planet awareness, cross-cultural awareness, knowledge of global dynamics, and awareness of human choices. However, as the time passes, the definition of global awareness is gradually developing. And we also need to think about global awareness also includes the awareness of global issues. So in this presentation, in this research, I would like to define global awareness as an interest in learning about the world through addressing global issues individually and collaboratively, such as those pertaining to cross-cultural communication and the environment. And previous studies relevant to global awareness illustrate that a lot of interactions can help learners to develop their global awareness. For instance, Jing mentioned that crucial elements such as knowledge, skills, and attitudes towards global topics can be developed through a variety of materials and activities. And Lancaster and et al. Mentioned that unstructured virtual synchronous communicative activities can assist students in developing their overall positive global awareness. And Zoni, Appen, and Kasim also mentioned that intercultural communicative approaches can help learners to develop their global awareness. Now, let's move to theme-based instruction. Theme-based instruction is one model of content-based instruction, which focuses on specific themes of interest and relevance to the learners. And according to Lister, theme-based instruction is categorized as into language-driven model because it aims to develop student target language abilities while focusing content of the assigned topics, but not necessarily deepen the understanding and perspectives of the topic. And according to Brighton Snow and Snowden Brighton, theme-based instruction is also considered as weak clear or soft clear. And previous study on the effects of CBI, content-based instruction, on global awareness represent that Trojan codes and studies. So Trojan mentioned that content-based instruction can increase learning engagement and also improve their higher thinking abilities. Coates also mentioned that content-based instruction can develop critical thinking skills while raising the awareness of environmental and sustainability issues. However, these two research studies did not really clarify which model of content-based instruction was utilized. So in terms of theme-based instruction, I conducted a mixed method research study with high school students using the topics relevant to environmental issues and cross-cultural understanding. And at that time, the finding illustrated that statistically significant positive effect with decisive base factors and large effect sizes. And based on activity theory, it was very clear that social culture scaffolding and community and the rules had an important role in the global awareness development. However, this study was one-shot design with no comparative groups, so it was still unclear that theme-based instruction actually helps students to develop their global awareness. So in order to address this research issue, I would like to answer these three questions. First, does theme-based instruction affect intermediate English processing level Japanese EFL university students' global awareness? Do the learners in theme-based instruction context show increased global awareness over the learners in non-TBI settings? And the third research question includes that the learners in theme-based instruction context engage in activities differently compared to learners in non-theme-based instruction settings. Now let's move to method. First of all, I would like to talk about the research context. I conducted this research study with 90 Japanese EFL university students, and I divided them into two groups, the theme-based instruction group and the non-theme-based instruction group. And all the proficiency levels, all the students had the intermediate English proficiency levels according to TOEFL, TOEIC, and CEFAL, Common European or Framework or Reference. And age ranges include 19 to 20. And I conducted this study during September until December last year. And I met the students once a week. Each class has 90 minutes. And none of the students had any studying or living abroad experience. And in this investigation, I utilized these two themes. First, global population growth from September until October, and technological development from November until December last year. And this is a instructional groups. So in the theme-based instruction and non-theme-based instruction, both groups will use the same reading passages, but in the theme-based instruction group, I covered vocabulary and grammar relevant to the assigned topics, and I also covered some content using videos and asked comprehension questions, discussion questions. So students had opportunities to share their ideas and opinions in groups and pairs. On the other hand, in non-theme-based instruction group, although the same reading passage was utilized, mainly the language was focused, including vocabulary and grammar, and content was only checked through comprehension questions, even though they still had some group and pair activities. And for the data collection analysis instrument, I utilized these data collection instruments: first, survey questionnaire, and teacher observation notes, student reflection notes, and semi-structured interviews with 12 students, 6 students per group. And for the data analysis instrument, I utilized JASP, descriptive statistics testing, Bayesian two-way repeat ANOVA test, and MAC-QDA for transcription, thematic coding, and intercode reliability checks. And I utilized Bayes factor in this investigation as well, because the reliability of p-value is now criticized, and several researchers mentioned that a Bayesian approach can be an alternative trustworthy benchmark today. So let me talk about the result. First of all, I would like to present the quantitative result. And well, first of all, I would like to talk about descriptive statistical test, descriptive statistical result. As you can see, the mean value is increased and decreased and increased. So it's like up and down pattern in the theme-based instruction. On the other hand, in non-theme-based instruction group, it seems rather stable. And I also conducted Shapiro-Wilk test in order to check the normality, and it seems like all the groups, regardless of the month, can be considered as normal distribution. And I also conduct assumption checks and test for equality and variance, and test of sophisticity illustrate that it is acceptable to conduct two ways ANOVA repeated test. And here's the result from the two ways repeated matrix ANOVA with base factor. So as you can see, month and the month and interaction between month and instructions, both of them had a statistical significant p-value, but with weak effect size, and base factor can also support the alternative hypothesis, but it's not really decisive here. However, if you explore the simple main effect analysis, it seemed like months had a important factor first, and simple main effects for the interaction also illustrate that although theme-based interaction has a statistically significant impact with decisive base factors and high effector size, non-theme-based interaction doesn't. So let me talk about qualitative findings then. In terms of engagement, especially interaction with classmates, theme-based interaction groups reported that student activities share the ideas and opinions regarding the topics deeply as possible, while providing example and reasons for the classmates. And some students also mentioned that they try to ask their classmates some questions to elicit their opinions with example and understand their perspectives, because their perspectives were very, very different from theirs and they were interested in them. On the other hand, in non-theme based instruction group, students tended to share one or two opinions with each other and rarely ask them any follow-up questions. And students also reported that it was rather challenging for them to talk about it with their friends because they had never thought of it. And for the topic and content knowledge, theme-based instruction group illustrate that as students gained the knowledge of the assigned topics, they became more interested in the controversial issues or global issues, and they tried to think about them as deeply as possible. And it also seems like content or meaning-focused activities helped students broaden their perspectives and understand content deeply. However, they also sometimes had difficulty in understanding the content in the theme-based instruction. So in such a case, they didn't feel they raised the awareness of the global topics. In the non-theme-based instruction group, although students also report that comprehension check questions helped them to develop their understanding of the topic and occasionally raise their interest in the global issues. It seems like most of them just tended to read a passage and answer the questions without considering the topics deeply. Now, let's try to discuss these findings based on the previous studies. And here is the research questions we will think about based on the findings. First of all, does theme-based instruction affect intermediate English personal level Japanese EFL university students' global awareness? Yes, we can say yes, because it was, although it was kind of short-term effect, it was statistically significant, and disease evidence was alternative hypothesis, and large effect size was detected. And it can also illustrate that this research finding is in line with my previous study with high school students. And how about question 2? Data learners in scene-based instruction context show increased global awareness over the learners in non-scene-based instruction setting. And that's also yes, because while the scene-based instruction group had a statistically significant influence on learners' global awareness, the non-scene-based instruction group did not. And the effect size and base factor also very low. So it illustrated that there was no statistical effect on the students in the non-scene-based instruction group. And how about research question 3? Did the learners in scene-based instruction context engage in activities differently compared to learners in non-scene-based instruction settings? That was yes as well. And it seems that this research finding also consistent with Trojan study and Code study, because scene-based instruction groups had a more active engagement in interactive activities than non-scene-based instruction groups. In addition, it was consistent with Jeng's findings, the development of content knowledge regarding assigned topics through content-focused activities such as peer activities and group activities. So based on that, scene-based instruction seems to have helped students in developing global awareness qualitatively as well. Now, I would like to talk about implications from these findings. The scene-based instruction can be considered an effective instruction to facilitate EFL learners' global awareness development because of content-driven or content-focused activities, which can activate students' schemata and fostering their knowledge development. And because of that, they are very important. And the role of social culture scaffolding from teachers, classmates, and action materials is important to consider carefully when we design the activities or when we design scene-based instruction curricula. And we also need to rethink about the short-term effects of scene-based instruction. So it is necessary to explore ways and materials to maintain their global awareness. So it could be just my suggestions or ideas. It could be extensive reading, or it could be more schemata activation strategies, or we might need to use topics to connect students' personal life and the actual global issues. And here's the limitations. So although my research study, or in this present research study, illustrate that positive effects of scene-based instruction on Japanese EFL students' global awareness, expect content instruction versus implicit content instruction needs to be compared. How about scene-based instruction and other instructions such as task-based instruction? And more student sample will be necessary. And how about academic specialties and overall global awareness, but subtopic global awareness also needs to be delved into in the future research. And here's the references. And again, thank you very much for your attention, and I really appreciate your questions and comment later. Thank you very much.